No book has had such a profound influence on both Western culture and history. With an estimated total sales of over 5 billion copies, it is the best-selling publication of all time. But exactly what is the Bible? Where did it come from? And why are there so many disputes and intense disagreements over its truthfulness and relevance to the current age? Here we will probe the origins and mysteries of this singular book. The Bible, from Koine Greek ta Biblia, or the books, is actually a range of religious texts or scriptures. These texts, originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek, consist of instructions, stories, poetries, and prophecies and other genres. Different religious traditions accept different subsets of these texts as part of their biblical canon, leading to a variety of names. Excluding the New Testament, these scriptures are divided into three groups: the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. The Torah, or teaching, is the oldest group and consists of the first 5 books. In Greek, it is known as the Pentateuch, or 5 books. It was accepted as Jewish canon by the 5th century BC. The Nevi'im, or prophets, is the second oldest group. It is a collection of narrative histories and prophecies and was canonized in the 3rd century BC. The third group, known as the Ketuvim, or writings, consists of psalms, proverbs, and narrative histories. It was canonized sometime between the 2nd century BC and the 2nd century AD. These three groups, together, comprise the original Hebrew Bible and is referred to as the Tanakh, a word derived from the first letters of these three parts. The word Bible is derived from Koine Greek, ta Biblia, meaning the books. The word is derived from the word Byblos, which means Egyptian papyrus, and many historians believe is ultimately rooted in the name of the Phoenician seaport Byblos, from whence Egyptian papyrus was exported to Greece. Initially emerging as songs and stories orally transmitted from generation to generation, the oldest books of the Bible were initially written and copied by hand on papyrus scrolls. None of these original scrolls survive. The age of the original composition of the texts is therefore difficult to determine and heavily debated. The earliest manuscripts were probably written in Paleo-Hebrew, a kind of cuneiform pictograph similar to other pictographs of the same period. The exile to Babylon most likely prompted the shift to a square script Aramaic in the 5th to 3rd centuries BC. These texts were maintained by Levites or scribes who updated the archaic forms and made any necessary corrections. Using a combined linguistic and historiographical approach, biblical scholars Ronald Hendel and Jan Justin dated the oldest parts of the Hebrew Bible, the Song of Deborah in Judges 5, and the Samson story of Judges 16 and 1 Samuel to having been composed in the pre-monarchical early Iron Age, circa 1200 BC. The Torah, also known as the 5 books of Moses, traditionally was considered to have been dictated to Moses by God himself. However, since the 17th century, scholars have viewed the original sources as being the product of multiple anonymous authors, while also allowing the possibility that Moses first assembled the separate sources. Although there are a variety of hypotheses regarding when and how the Torah was composed, there is a general consensus that it took its final form during the reign of the Persian Achaemenid Empire, probably 450 to 350 BC, or perhaps in the early Hellenistic period, 333 to 164 BC. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the caves of Qumran in 1947, are copies that can be dated to between 250 BC and 100 AD. They are the oldest existing copies of the books of the Hebrew Bible of any length that are not fragments. The Great Isaiah Scroll, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is the oldest complete copy of the book of Isaiah. During the rise of Christianity in the 1st century AD, new scriptures were written in Koine Greek. Christians called these new scriptures the New Testament and began referring to the Septuagint, a translation of the Hebrew scriptures into Koine Greek, as the Old Testament. There is evidence in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, as well as the writings of the early church fathers, that Christian documents were in circulation before the end of the 1st century. Paul's letters were circulated during his lifetime. His death thought to have occurred before 68 AD, during Nero's reign. Early Christians transported these writings around the empire, translating them into Old Syriac, Coptic, Ethiopic, and Latin, among other languages. The list of books included in the Catholic Bible was established as canon by the Council of Rome in 382 AD, followed by those of Hippo in 393 AD and Carthage in 397 AD. Between 385 AD and 405 AD, the early Christian church translated its canon into Vulgar Latin, the common Latin spoken by ordinary people, a translation known as the Vulgate. Since then, Catholic Christians have held ecumenical councils to standardize their biblical canon. The Council of Trent, 1545 to 63 AD, held by the Catholic Church in response to the Protestant Reformation, authorized the Vulgate as its official Latin translation of the Bible. A number of other biblical canons have since emerged. Christian biblical canons range from the 73 books of the Catholic Church to the 66 books of most Protestant denominations, to the 81 books of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, amongst others. With total annual sales of over 5 billion, the Bible is the best-selling publication of all time, and scholars will continue trying to discern its mysteries, separating history from theology and fact from myth. Inevitably, it is an exercise in speculation as well as scholarship. But what emerges is a story that is as fascinating and intriguing as the book itself. A story of our relationship with the divine, and a profound source of insight into our own psyche. This is Deviant Knowledge. Thanks for watching.